Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online interview series. Today, we want to get an update from Labrador Uranium, and Stephen Keys, the CEO, is here with us. Good morning to Canada. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you today?
Perfect. Thank you very much. Always great talking to you and having time with you. That's fantastic. I'm a shareholder of your company. I want to disclose that first, of course. And yeah, it seems like uranium starts to pick up. $51 is the spot price. It was last Friday. And also we got some very good news like new contracting in China. The US government bought £1 million for the government program. So something is really going on in the air. And you guys had some good news on 14th June. You have received major exploration agreements and permits for your 2022 summer drill program. So what's going on, Stephen?
Well, great. Well, and great to hear you're a shareholder. I always love the support. So look, it's been a good start to the year. As you know, we're a new company. So we only listed in March of this year. The first half of this year was focused on getting ourselves set up. And most important to that is we are an exploration company. We do have an incredible land package. So fundamental to what we do, we have to get on the ground and start doing proper exploration. So that press release, the key point there was we now have our major permits. The first one we needed was to be able to build a field camp. These are remote locations, and so the first thing we do is you build a field camp out there where you can get your float plane supplies, and your team will probably building a 15 to 20 person camp. That is in the middle of construction now. I was actually out there last week. We landed at the project. A bunch of the tents are up. We're just excited, like we're now ready to go. So the permits are in hand to drill, to explore, to build a camp. We've got the team, and now we're excited to get going and do the thing that we are supposed to do, which is explore and try to find what we have underground and try to build something for investors.
Okay, super. So how remote is the exploration site? Because you said helicopter?
Yeah, so it's fairly remote in that there are no roads or anything that lead to these projects. So you do need to fly in and fly out. So you can either use a small airplane like a twin Otter that can land on the lake. That will deliver most of our supplies, but all of it will be helicopter work. So the drill needs to be slung by a helicopter from hole to hole, and the team needs to move around. And that's for two reasons. Firstly, as I said, there's no road access, and it's really tough walking. It's pretty thick, dense bush and bogs in between the sites. So we'll need to move around that way. That being said, it's not like it's in the middle of nowhere. The nearest community to the center of our project is less than 100 kilometers. So in times like winter or whatnot, you do see guys with snow machines and stuff like that out there. But for a field camp where you're building and moving large equipment, yeah, it's relatively remote, but it's not, again, as I was saying, it's not the middle of nothing, but it's stunning out there. It's a great place to be.
Okay, super. So how many meters you want to drill, and what is approximately the cost per meter?
So it's an interesting question. So drilling, our goal this year is a minimum of 4,000 meters. If we see other targets or want to chase some deeper targets, we'll probably try to add some more. We've made sure we've left a lot of room in our budget, and we hope to be able to talk about that. And the helicopter and stuff like that, you're getting into a few $100s a meter. This is not cheap work in here, and it's actually one of the reasons that this opportunity exists for us, and having this almost 140,000 hectare land packages. As I've said previously with you, dozens of people have been in here, but because of the access issues, very few have done comprehensive drill programs or even comprehensive geophysics. And so we know there's stuff out there. People have made discoveries, but have never really, other than the few guys that we know about, like the Crosshair asset that we now have at Moran Lake, and the work that what is now Paladin has at Michelin, most of that work wasn't done because, again, it was just too expensive for small companies. That is why we cashed up so much. It is we want to be in a position, we believe strongly that there's something big and exciting here, but it needs the drilling, it needs work, but that does mean it needs the cash. And so this will be expensive work, but we're highly confident due to the fact that we have this historical resource to start with, and all the work that was done before. We think we will find something significant. So it is worth it, but it's costly.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you are well cashed up, and I think in your presentation it says 17 million Canadian dollars. So you really can do a nice work program, I would say.
No, look, that's exactly right. And that's exactly the thing we're trying to do. Like, relative to market cap, we're almost half cash. which makes sense. We're exploration, but most of that is going to go into the ground. I figure this year, so in 2022, and I'll include a bit of 2023 because there's a winter campaign that we're including in our plans. We could spend up to $6-7 million this year, and it's needed. Frankly, we can spend a lot more. It's very easy in this area, and with the targets we have to spend 3-4 times that. We still need to go in and ground truth a lot of this. So I think that this year, hopefully we can expand some of our existing resources, but more importantly is it's also to set us up for the next 2 or 3 years. Our goal is a very large discovery. And if we find that we have to spend 6 or 7 this year, there's a very good chance, and market conditions and what we find and so many things determine what we will do. It would be very easy to spend this and more next year as well. So our goal is, again, put the money in the ground and make discoveries.
Okay, super. To make discoveries, that's a good point, because you are in the central mineral belt, and globally it was significant for copper and uranium. But I think also there was silver, gold, rare earth elements, iron and moly showings. So are you going specifically only for uranium, or do you say, hey, if we discover some more, whatever, copper, rare earths, I don't know, we are not shy of that?
I think that last comment is the exact comment we will go for. Look, our goal, especially at the board level, is our job is to look after and to try to make money for investors. The mining and exploration industry is difficult as it is. And obviously we're uranium focused because we believe that the uranium market has very long legs. Now, I don't think I've seen a fundamentals like this but definitely not in a long time. And so that we really like. And we like that the starter resource we have is a historical uranium resource. We like that at the east end of this belt, there is a 120 million pound uranium resource and lots of shine. So uranium is absolutely what we are after. In truth, though, we believe we will find much more. This is a really rich system, as we talked about a little bit earlier, is in our last interview, this is a region where 4 geological provinces have come together. So there's been 4 different mountain building phases, and that has brought with us incredible fluids, which bring you the copper and gold and all that beautiful stuff. And it's also created all these structures, and that's where you're getting your uranium and the fractures and to a lesser extent in some of these shears. So there's so much that's come up here. And in the last boom for uranium, which was the last time, really the only time we saw major exploration here, we did see a lot in the copper, but a lot of that didn't get into like the tens of millions of dollars to spend that we saw the last time. But most of the guys that have worked in this basin have just been literally scratching at the surface. So we know there's something here. There's deep structures here that we still need to look at. Very few have done deep drilling. So to finally answer the short question you asked, I think if we find something else, we will go for it, right? And frankly, what does happen, if it is, for example, if we do find, say, an IOCG, it will be deeper, so it'll be more expensive to get at. But that might be where that uranium comes from. As someone told me, one of the largest uranium mines, if not the largest uranium mine in the world, is an IOCG project in Australia. That's Olympic Dam, right? So these things can go hand in hand. But if it's, for example, if it is like a large copper deposit, I think we have to do something with it, because it also does one other thing, which you got to think about is we have a thesis here and we have a belief, which is in the future of energy. And 2 pieces of that future energy is, one is, where is your base load power? And in that, copper is part of that because it's fundamental to your batteries as well, as is, for example, vanadium, which comes in our Moran Lake deposit. So I think you've got to look at everything and just be realistic. If you make a discovery, you make a discovery, like, go take it.
Absolutely. Yeah, what I just wanted to ask on Moran Lake, because you have their uranium vanadium. Yeah. So what will be the work program then here?
So this year, that will be our main work program, because it's the project we know most about and has the opportunity to grow. So Moran Lake is going to be the majority of our drilling. That's going to be at about 4,000 meters of drilling, we estimate right now. It will also be the subject, as well as the entire belt. We'll do a fairly comprehensive, hopefully, airborne geophysics survey later on. The goal at Moran Lake is twofold. So there's a historical resource there. As you mentioned, it's uranium and vanadium. Uranium sits around 10 million pounds, plus or minus. The vanadium is a little over maybe 130 million pounds, 100, yeah, something like that. And so it's a neat starter package. We're seeing grades of the uranium that are similar to other projects in the world, not Saskatchewan, but in the rest of the world. But at present, we don't believe it's big enough to be a mine where we are. So we want to do two things. One is extend it. If it stays the same size, then it's probably never going to be a mine. So we want to find the extensions of it. And with the historical work we found and some of the work we've started doing, there looks like an incredible opportunity northeast and southwest. It does look like it expands. There's all sorts of uranium showings along that trend that make us believe very strongly that there's something there. And people have hit it in small as well. But again, unless we're growing it, it doesn't matter. So that's the main goal there. We may, again, depending on timing and drill, we may look at some deeper targets there. If you look at some of the historical work, there's quite a good potential that there's a deep target underneath there. And so let's see what's there as well. And that'll be the combination of what we do everywhere else. But fundamentally, the drilling will be at Moran Lake, try to expand it and prove what that is and see if we can do there what used to be Aurora did at Michelin, which was the more they worked it, every time they did a campaign, they grew it. We would love to do something like that. So that's Moran Lake, and that will be this year's focus.
Okay, super. Yeah, the Michelin project, that's also a thing I wanted to talk with you about, because Mustang Lake is like the direct neighbor as I look here on your map. So how do you think you can benefit from the Michelin deposit, and what does it look like geologically? Because I think you're like on the same lines, right? Because normally geology does not stop at borders of a project, right?
It never does, right? And that's the funny, and that's why this consolidation play makes sense. Guys find all these small things on their claims, but never chased it after because they couldn't. So look, I think Michelin presents a great opportunity for a few reasons. One is it is 120 million, 130 million pound deposit sitting right at surface at about 850 ppm uranium. And that does a few things. And what's happening there too is you've got what is the Michelin deposit, and then there's sort of a hole in their land package, and then northeast of that tear up, they actually had to pull out of that. So we know the uranium's there, and geologically, in the units in which the uranium are found look geologically the exact same as to what you're seeing at Michelin. So there's a great opportunity there in a sort of connect the dots, or is this an extension? Is it something similar? But there's a lot more work to do, but therein lies the opportunity. Michelin also gives us two other interesting opportunities. One is it does bring a global player into the basin that shows that there's value here. So Paladin obviously isn't focused on this today because they're in Namibia rebuilt or restarting the Langer Heinrich mine. And that's obviously something that's ready to go and lower cost. But I would expect, and hopefully we see them to come back into this basin in the next year or two and start doing some work. If you recall, they bought this asset for over $260 million, but at a time where uranium was dropping fast and when you weren't even allowed to explore for uranium in this region, they still bought it. So there's value in the ground there. So there's the proving of a model. And then the third thing that Michelin does for us is, and we haven't talked about this in this discussion, is there is a secondary piece, and sometimes the primary piece of our exploration is, it's what we've been focused on now before we can get to the field, which is this machine learning program. And so we're building our own AI with two now award winners in geology with AI to look at this vast tract of land and all historical data to come up with large targets. But what's critical to that is when you're building machine learning, there are two fundamental parts. One is the data that you have and how to get it ready to put into, for lack of better terms, the machine. But you have to teach the machine what it's looking for. And here we have this giant deposit to the east of us and very similar map for the machine and ourselves to find other targets within this 125 kilometer long belt that we control. So it's nice to have there for lots of reasons.
Fantastic. Super. Last question. What are your plans now for the second half on the Notec-Wenham project?
So Nataqwanan is going to be a trickier project for us, frankly, for two reasons. One, so we were going to go in and work that this year. Two things occurred. One is the cost. So we were going to drill because of its location, we would have had to have built our own field camp for Nataquanan, and then start drilling it. That the dollars per meter drilled was going to be ludicrous in this first campaign because we don't know much about Nataquanan. We have, again, there's 22 surface occurrences of uranium that have been discovered. There are trench samples that have been done, so we know the uranium's there. And you can see what is thought to be uraninite veins, and they scream at you with the scintillometer at surface. So the opportunity there is very good. The two problems are, one is it's going to be incredibly expensive. In our first campaign, we thought we wanted to go in and drill it. With the cost that it was going to cost to drill, we thought we'd take a step back and try to understand it a little better, because you don't want to be drilling holes at several $100s a meter and not know what it is. And very little of that at depth work has been done. And in the last time the uranium companies came through the central mineral belt, a lot of the targets were drilled just targeting surface anomalies. What that does, it means you're going to miss a lot because you don't really know all the time what's going on underground. So we didn't want to do that due to the expense there. The other issue with Nataquanan is it is a different, there's different, for lack of better terms, sort of governance issues up there. So in the southern part, in the central mineral belt where we work, government, they're there now. So they know their processes, procedures. We've developed a relationship, and it's going forward quite nicely. We were able to get our permits, and that's good. Up in the north, you're dealing with a different group. It's the Innu, and they're still in the midst of working through their self-government, and don't have policies and procedures in place. So it's just going to take longer. We did expect, and we did frankly promise that we'd get in there this summer. But we've decided to take that step back. And again, it's one is economic, it's just really expensive. So we'd like to have more data before we go stick drill holes and a field camp up there. And secondly, if you have communities that are a little nervous or aren't quite ready to do it, you don't want to push yourself on them, right? Like, community development is really important. This is a long-term company, a long-term play. If it takes us several months to slowly introduce ourselves, introduce what we're doing, help them with what they're doing, then hopefully we can come back there next year. So that is, for lack of better, it's still on our minds, but we're not going to be doing that this year, sadly.
Okay, super. So that means you're going full throttle on the central mineral belt.
Right now, yeah. And you know what? Like, look, again, it's almost 140,000 hectares. And as you've seen, we've added a bit of more land as we go, and I think we will continue to. That on its own, we could probably spend 50 million on exploration on. But again, this is about opportunities. So we will spend less on Nataquanan for now. We will take our time.
Yeah, it's the future.
But if through the programs we're doing, something tells us that that's a superior project.
Love it. Thank you very much, Stephen. All the best. Talk soon to you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Stephen Keys, the CEO of Labrador Uranium. And as you heard it, find a new deposit, make shareholders happy, and take the money into the ground. That's exactly what we want to see. 17 million Canadian dollars the company has still in the bank. They are working to start very, very soon here. Maybe the next, there are 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a 4,000 meter drill program. They are ready to rumble, I would say. And uranium is hot, really, definitely. That's a long-term, not only a trend, this is a new cycle. And as Stephen said, it couldn't be better in the history of uranium, because we need that baseload power from nuclear power, CO2 emission free. And also we need new projects with new mines for the future. And hopefully Labrador Uranium is one of those future mines here. So I would suggest at those low levels in the share price, really check out the company. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.